Hi, I'm Kina, and this is Conversation with Christian Entrepreneur. Today, I'll be talking to an entrepreneur who's a director of a company that was founded in 1798. If you want to buy some very expensive jewelry, he's a man to go to. Jody, tell us about your company. What do you do?
So, Kina, we are jewelers. I am in a family business. I'm the 6th generation of jewelers to run and own boodles. So we started in 1798 in Liverpool, when Liverpool was a major port. Perhaps today is not quite what it was then, but we still have our headquarters there, and we have 3 shops in the northwest. And 28 years ago, my uncle, 5th generation, he went to London to set up a shop there, and London's become a major part of our business. 5 shops in London, and 1 in Ireland. So we are jewelers, we design, we have 4 designers, fantastic ladies based in Liverpool. We make our jewelry, but we are retailers, so we sell it out of one of our 9 shops.
Great. Could you give us an idea, if you don't mind, what are we looking at annually, your turnover with your business, if you don't mind?
No, not at all. We've grown quite a bit over recent years, the last 10, quite significantly, but this year almost coming to a close. Our financial year is the end of February, and we will probably get to about 82 million pounds, something around there.
Great. Jody, how do you justify, surely the jewelry that you sell is very, very expensive. I remember seeing a documentary on TV sometime a few years ago. There was a necklace for about was it 2 million or a million? I'm exaggerating.
Million,
it was
yeah.
Really expensive. But how do you justify selling such expensive jewelry to such exclusive customers as a Christian?
Yeah, as a Christian, it's a very good question, and the answer is probably quite a long one, but in a nutshell, I began working in the business, having worked in the church for 3 years in London. It was a shock 18 years ago, joining the family business as a new Christian at the time. Only been a Christian, I think, 4 or 5 years at that stage. And my big struggle was selling great big ticket pieces of jewelry to people who probably don't need anything else. And there's a crying need out there in the world for money to fund the right things and to get poverty sorted out. But I have been on a journey, and I feel, number one, called. We took time out where we went to Wainwright over in Samoa about 7 or 8 years ago to ask the Lord, are we doing the right thing still, Lord? You know, we're in this business now 7, 8 years. Should we be, are we doing the right thing? And very clearly felt called to stay in the business. Number one is, God is extravagant. I don't believe that whilst poverty is a real problem, that it's God's heart that we live under poverty. It doesn't justify spending lots of money without looking at the poverty issues. And a lot of our customers, I've realized, are incredibly wealthy, but also incredibly generous. And we don't always find that out straight away. And also, it's the love of money, and this has been a journey in my life, that is a root of all kinds of evil. For me, God has twice really spoken clearly and called us to do quite radical things with our own finances. So I think there is a breaking. God wants to have control of our finances. And it's an ongoing thing, but I've had a couple of experiences where God really did asked us to do some quite radical things with our own money. And fortunately we did. And so the love of money, it's interesting in business, perhaps we'll come on to it, you need to make money. I mean, what is a business? It is a profit-generating enterprise, in essence. Far more to it than that, but if you don't make money, you don't have a business. So at the root of it, you've got to make money, but I think it's this issue of the love of it and where your heart is. Jesus was quite clear about it. It's not what goes into a man that defiles him, but what comes out. And so for me, I feel, God makes lovely sunsets and sunrises. The world's extravagant the way he's made it. You look at Ezekiel, we look at the Bible's covered in, Exodus, I think 27 or 28, talks all about rubies and sapphires, and of course Revelation, the streets are made with gold. I don't think God's got a problem. He put stones in the ground in the first place. There's an innate desire and love for these things that we sell. And I think that actually reflects the glory of God. The fact that they're very valuable and expensive is part of that. So it's for me not being under a poverty spirit, whilst at the same time Jesus said in this life you'll have many troubles, and that there would be suffering as a part of it. And as a business we have tough times as well. So glitzy on the surface, but exciting within that, and yet the Lord is looking much deeper than that, and hopefully our business is far deeper than just selling expensive things, which God has put there in the first place.
Thanks, Jody. You are a Christian entrepreneur. What does that mean to you?
Suddenly now I'm in a business which is probably the most difficult, or one of the most difficult businesses to behave in that sort of a way. It's quite sort of contained. For example, I'm going to a ladies' lunch in one of our shops in half an hour. You know, everybody be dressed up to the nines. I'm not going to be preaching at the table. So it's a different way in. And I feel being a Christian entrepreneur is saying, Lord, use me where you've put me, knowing in your heart of hearts that you're in the right place. And I do check up on that with the Lord. So what are you saying about where you've placed me? That's the beginning of being a Christian entrepreneur, to accept where you are, and then to say, well, Lord, what is your program? And quite often it's very practical. For me, I think being a Christian entrepreneur in business is about instilling God's principles and listening to his voice and doing what he says along the way.
Jody, the last time I interviewed you, you said you're a person who don't really fear bad news. With business and the time that we're living in, where there's quite a bit of uncertainty, how do you respond, or how do you feel?
Since saying that 3 or 4 years ago, I have had I've had my fair share of opportunities to fear bad news, and at the moment, you know, Brexit's one thing, perhaps a new government coming in wouldn't be my first choice, we'll keep politics out, but there are reasons for businesses in the UK to be a bit anxious at the moment. And I have had a few sleepless nights, by the way, so I'm not going to pretend I just have dealt with that one and on we go. I feel I'm dealing with it. I felt perhaps at the time I was doing quite well on that level. Not perhaps as well now, but I do believe God's got the business, and I always go back to, if this business fell apart under my watch, and it's not just me at the moment, I'm one of 4, how would I be? Does my identity change? So the fundamental Christian truths of who am I, what's God called me to, none of that should change, in which case I don't need to fear he's got me. So there's a backstop, isn't there? There's the Irish backstop, there's the Christian backstop. The Christian backstop is Christ. And I feel very much, you know, as soon as I start panicking, actually I'm undermining the work of the Holy Spirit and the work of Christ in my life. You know, he's brought everything. As Peter says, he's given us everything we need for life and godliness. And part of being godly is about having a peace and having a sense of assurance and a sense of rest. And that lovely Hebrews, entering God's rest today in the middle of all of this stuff that's going on, and that's the call, isn't it? It's to be in God's place of rest, intimate with him right now. And I think when you're in that place, whether it's in business, with Brexit or anything else, actually God's got it. But I will say that I've seen some unexpected moves, I would say, of God. Not everybody might see it that way, where business has gone well in the face of adversity, where it's, you know, right after votes that wouldn't be good for business, or in the second week of December, it's like a triple month for us. And about the second week in, Theresa May was almost voted out, if you remember, and I just thought, is anybody going to ever buy a piece of jewellery again, let alone in the next 2 critical weeks? And we've had the best December we've ever had, just gone. So not because we deserve it, not because we've done anything special, but I just believe putting God first. There are times where it doesn't seem to come right, and we know that in Job's life, but ultimately it does come right. And I feel, you know, at the end of it, even if the business did fall apart, which I certainly hope it doesn't happen, God's got it. So, you know, we're okay.
Great. Finally, the last time I interviewed you, you said you're called to love people, to love God, and to make God known. How do you demonstrate that in your business?
Badly, probably, with difficulty, but not completely. True to say, with difficulty, people are people. I think it's a challenge in business where there's 110 is whatever size that sounds like to you or to people listening, it's big or it's small. There's 110 people in our company, and I always think probably statistically there's about 30% who've got trouble going on, going through divorce, having problems with their children, which at the moment one of my boys is playing up at school. That must be happening. We know the world is it's not an easy thing. So I try to have an ear open. I try to know what's going on amongst our staff, and we've got a wonderful head of HR who herself is having some troubles with a poorly child. So listening to people like her, listening to our managers, not just how's business, but how the staff, knowing what's going on. That is certainly one thing. And I feel the loving people in a business position is a curious one. Actually, sometimes it's Jim Collins, American author of a book From Good to Great. He says, getting the right people on the bus, and the business being the bus, getting those right people seated within your business is the most important thing. But actually, by definition, there are wrong people on the bus at any one time. And in my business, I feel actually where someone is in the wrong job, either the wrong place, and can we move them, or very occasionally the wrong business, that person is not right for us. Actually loving them is moving them on. Okay, then there's a question, how do you move them on, and do you really believe that? But there have been occasions where we've even paid for a headhunter to help them, position them for another job. We've had a conversation, gone through the process of, and if it's agreed, yeah, it might not be the best thing, well, let's help you get to the right place, but I don't think it's us. So I think it's a number of different things within a business. Of course, witnessing about Christ, and there are opportunities. I took 4 people to hear J. John at Christmas from one of our departments. But maybe they see it in my life, maybe they're putting 2 and 2 together. I would say far more important is that they buy into the Christian message through what they're seeing, because frankly, they're going to be watching. And that's also concerning, because we all have bad days. But, I like to feel that what I stand for is shown over 18 years, and so they can feel, I'm approachable, and they'll know, because they all do know I'm a Christian. Many of them I've had conversations with. But yeah, it's coming back to caring, but whilst running a business.
Jody, thank you so much for taking time to just talk to us about your faith and your work.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. This is Conversation with Christian Entrepreneurs. If you would like to find out more, visit our website, faithinbusiness.org. Bye for now.